It's not easy. It's hard changing your life.
I'm talking about a problem in my life. So for you, I don't know what it is, but that problem, you cannot ignore it. Why? It will not go away. It will not go away on its own. It will not. You won't just wake up one day and it won't be there anymore. It's going to be there and it will haunt you for the rest of your life. So I'm telling you from personal experience, deal with it. Deal with it. And the sooner you deal with it and the sooner you overcome it, the sooner you get to your rewards, baby. The sooner you get on the other side of it, the sooner you begin to feel fulfillment. The sooner you get on the other side is self-actualization. Your dreams become a reality. The sooner you get on the other side of the problem is a wealth of success. The sooner you deal with the fact that you have test anxiety, deal with it. It's not the end of the world. Deal with it.
You don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to hate somebody, to want revenge, to want to get back at somebody, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself.
And sometimes we're discouraged over what we brought on ourselves. It's not the enemy, it's our attitude. The good news is, all you have to do is make an attitude adjustment. It's not complicated. You can't change other people. You can't change how you were raised. A lot in life we can't control. But one thing we can all control is our attitude.
I want people not to be afraid to be themselves, no matter what circumstances they're in. Your situation doesn't define who you are. You define who you are.
Everybody's got a dream. Everybody's got a goal. Everybody wants something in life. But many of you in this room right now, your beast mode is idle. Your beast mode is not turned on. And when you leave this place, I'm telling you, your life is going to go to a whole nother level if you can learn to turn that switch on and keep that switch on.
Working hard is the cost of entry to anything. You know 0 people that are successful that don't work their face off. You know 0 people. Now, they may have money because mommy and daddy made money and gave it to them, but people that actually built their own success, you know 0 people that have had success that did not put in obnoxious amounts of work.
Work on yourself. Work on your focus. You cannot stop. You gotta work. The problem with you is you see difficult as something negative. I want you to see difficult differently. Are you hearing me? I need you to push through that stuff. Push through it. You can't get through it. The more you go through, the more difficult it is, the more challenging it is. Listen to me, the harder it is. Are you hearing me? The more challenging it is, all you're doing, baby, is building muscle.
When I got to Dallas, I was a bartender at night, and I moved in. One of my buddies from Indiana said, "You got to come to Dallas." And I'm like, "I'm there." You know, my car would only get so far. It had a Fiat X19 with a hole in the floorboard that guzzled oil every 60 miles. And I went down there, and there's a place called The Village. It's was the world's largest apartment complex. We had 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment. I didn't have my own room. I didn't have my own drawer. I didn't have my closet. I had a pile, and I had one ratty towel that I stole from Motel 6. And that was it. And so I was looking for my career, got a job at a software store. And I was, didn't have a tech background, so I was teaching myself all this, because the way I look at tech is somebody invents it and everybody else is tied for second place in the ability to learn it. And if I work harder and faster to really dive in, even if it means reading the manual, just diving in, then I can get a head start.
How old were you during
I was 24. And so sleeping on the floor, working in a software company, learning, getting better at what I was doing. And then one day, because I was dying to get out of that rat hole that I lived in, I had a chance to go out and close a sale that would have got me a $1,500 commission. And so I went to my boss, his name is Michael Humecki, and I said, "Boss, one of my responsibilities was to sweep the floor, wipe down the windows, and open the door to open the store. I got the sale. You got to let me close the sale." He goes, "No." you got to be in here to open the store. And I'm like, Michael, no. So I made the executive decision to go out, pick up the check, thinking if I hand this guy a $15,000 check, of course he's going to change his mind. Fired me on the spot. And so here I was, living in a shithole, excuse my French, just this ratty place with a Motel 6 towel, sorry, Motel 6, and really didn't know how I was going to get out. But I decided, okay, I'm a lousy employee. I went to one of the companies that I'd been talking to, Architectural Lighting, and I said, look, I need $500 to be able to buy the software you want, and I promise you that even if it doesn't work, I will wash your car, I will walk your dog, I don't care what it is, I will do whatever it takes to make it up to you. And they gave me the $500, and that allowed me to create Micro Solutions. And 6 months later, I was out of the rat hole, and my company turned into a real company, and that's the one I sold for $6 million.
If I roughly took the people I interviewed and divided them into people who really have a sense of worthiness, that's what this comes down to, a sense of worthiness. They have a strong sense of love and belonging. And folks who struggle for it, and folks who are always wondering if they're good enough. There was only one variable that separated the people who have a strong sense of love and belonging and really struggle for it, and that was the people who have a strong sense of love and belonging believe they're worthy of love and belonging. That's it. They believe they're worthy. And to me, the hard part of the one thing that keeps us out of connection is our fear that we're not worthy of connection, was something that personally and professionally I felt like I needed to understand better. So what I did is I took all of the interviews where I saw worthiness, where I saw people living that way, and just looked at those. What do these people have in common? And I have a slight office supply addiction, but that's another talk. So I had a manila notebook, a manila folder, and I had a Sharpie, and I was like, what am I gonna call this research? And the first words that came to my mind were wholehearted. These are kind of wholehearted people living from this deep sense of worthiness. So I wrote at the top of the manila folder, and I started looking at the data. In fact, I did it first in this in a 4-day, very intensive data analysis where I went back, pulled these interviews, pulled the stories, pulled the incidents. What's the theme? What's the pattern? My husband left town with the kids because I always go into this kind of Jackson Pollock crazy thing where I'm just like writing and going and kind of just in my researcher mode. And so here's what I found. What they had in common was a sense of courage. And I want to separate courage and bravery for you for a minute. Courage, the original definition of courage, when it first came into the English language, it's from the Latin word cur, meaning heart, and the original definition was to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. And so these folks had, very simply, the courage to be imperfect. They had the compassion to be kind to themselves first and then to others, because as it turns out, we can't practice compassion with other people if we can't treat ourselves kindly. And the last was they had connection, and this was the hard part, as a result of authenticity. They were willing to let go of who they thought they should be in order to be who they were, which is, you have to absolutely do that for connection. The other thing that they had in common was this. They fully embraced vulnerability. They believed that what made them vulnerable made them beautiful. They didn't talk about vulnerability being comfortable, nor did they really talk about it being excruciating, as I had heard earlier in the shame interviewing. They just talked about it being necessary. They talked about the willingness to say, I love you first. The willingness to do something where there are no guarantees. The willingness to breathe through waiting for the doctor to call after your mammogram. The willing to invest in a relationship that may or may not work out. They thought this was fundamental.
I found myself at the beginning of this pandemic feeling several things. First, when lockdown came, I was excited because, whoa, I thought it was only going to be like 2 weeks, and I was treating it like vacation, and I didn't have to fit into any pants. So I was eating everything. I was like counting the points in my head, but not really tracking them. And then when I realized we were going to be longer, I thought, after I put on the first 7 pounds, I said, whoa, let's get ourselves refocused and back on track. I was feeling overwhelmed, but I will tell you that for me, the practice of being fully present has saved me. And one of the reasons I was feeling overwhelmed and eating my way through the first 2 weeks is because I had just come off of that tour. And I saw I see some faces that I saw on the tour. Hey, Lisa Schaub, I see you there. And I realized, as more and more information was coming forward, that wow, after every show, y'all, Shook had 400, 500 people waiting in line to take pictures and shaking hands. So I shook hands, I hugged people, people kissed me, I kissed them, we cried, we danced, we did everything. And then I thought, 14, for the first 14 days after the tour finished, every day I was waiting to know whether or not I was going to be a victim of COVID-19. I am in the at-risk category. I am 66. Never before have I been reminded of that number, because at first when the news started coming out about it affecting elderly people, I was like, oh, so sad, the elderly people. And then I realized they were talking about people over 60. Oh, they're talking about me. Oh, I didn't realize I was elderly. Okay, thanks so much. And as I've shared with so many of you, I had pneumonia last year. So I'm really in that category of at risk. So I was worried. And if you're watching the news every day, as I know we all have been, needed it for information, I have now stopped and limited that for myself. If you're watching the news every day, you can get overwhelmed with the stories. And I was reading every terrible, horrible story of what it does to your body and how it shuts down your lungs, and then it makes your heart race, and then your kidneys fail, and all of that. Okay, do I have a witness over there? I see you, Linda. And so I had to stop doing that. And every time I would get overwhelmed, I would do this. I would just literally go to my breath and remind myself that breath is the presence of life. It reminds you that the breath is literally the source of life for you. Come back to focus. And I would say, in this moment, I am well. In this moment, I'm okay. I am not in the hospital. I am not on a respirator. I am not that story. In this moment, I am breathing. I am well. I'm okay. Coming back to the moment, reminding myself, in this moment, I am well.